in the last lecture we discussed about the static correction method. So if I want to find the response, I can always say take the response only from a specific mode and do a static correction for not including the higher modes. We said static because there is no dynamic component present in this correction. We also call this as missing mass correction because the mass from the higher modes may not be participating. So now the question fundamentally asked was how many modes should I consider in my analysis. When I say modes, I got two components in this, one is the mode shape, other is what I call as an eigenvector, other is the frequency which is the eigenvalue. If I say the number of modes, automatically I am actually asking a question indirectly, how many modes correspond to what frequency I must consider. The answer to these questions will be of two kinds. One, do not include any frequency in your argument which is lesser than or equal to omega bar higher. For example, if a forcing function frequency has an highest value of omega bar, do not avoid any frequency content in your analysis which is lying within the highest frequency of the forcing function. Secondly, you should look for the modal mass participation and include only those number of modes up to which you can say 90% of the modal mass is included. That is, if I say m1 star, m2 star are the respective modal mass in respective modes, then if I sum them up, I must say if I am including two modes or the two modal mass participations, then the sum should not be less than 90% of the total m. So that is what we are. So the two arguments are holding good for truncating the number of modes. Even if you truncate the higher number of modes, you can do a static correction to find out the correct value of the response. Now we will talk about modal mass contribution back with an example. So let us say I have an example here. The mass matrix is given as a 4 by 4 matrix which is diagonal. The stiffness matrix is given as so as I solve this using a classical eigensolver, let us say I get the frequencies and the mode shapes are the following. Omega 1 square is 0.2028, omega 2 square is 1.128, omega 3 square 2.839 and omega 4 square 4. This problem we already solved 4.331, and my phi matrix, each column corresponds to a specific mode shape of that corresponding frequency, which gives, okay, I should write it big, huh? 48. So, we wish to estimate the modal participation factor on this problem in each of the modes. We will also work out the modal mass contribution. So, first let us do the modal participation factor, which I call as Pk, the kth mode. Pk is given by summation of I is equal to 1 to n. In my argument I am picking up this as n, I am not talking about truncation of modes. If it is truncated, then it is n hat, whatever may be the case which we are considering. Call equation number 1. I can use it do this using a tabular column. Let us say this is floor, this is Mi, phi I 1, I am talking about P1. So, the summation is from 1 to n, that is only for I, this k will always associate with this P1. So, it is 1, the first column of the vector. So, I should say Mi phi I1 and Mi phi I1 square. So, you may wonder that here I have got W's, here I have Mi's, W is mg. So, strictly speaking I must multiply the numerator as well as denominator with g, so they get cancelled, I can use m as well, okay. There is no implication in the calculation as far as this is concerned, okay. So, 1, 2, 3 and 4. 8, 8, 4 and 4. These are the values I have in mass matrix. They are not W's, they are mass. So, if you expand, it should be 5 1 1, 5 2 1, 5 3 1. So, the first column I got to copy it here. So, 0.0914, 1872, 2643 and 3056. So, can you fill up these two columns quickly and get me the sum of this? So, I get P1 as 4.5084, that is this value divided by this value. Can you get me quickly for P2, P3 and P4? So, if I want to find out really P2, I have got to make changes. Is there anybody who has not understood this column or this table? It is clear. Though here it is weight, I am using mass here, I must have strictly multiply this and this as well as G's. Okay, here G as well as here G, they get cancelled. So, I need not have to do it implied here. So, I am not doing that, right. So, I have to replace the second calculation. So, what I should do here is I should go for P2. So, the summation varies from 1 to n only for I, K stands for 2. So, it is 5, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2 and 4, 2. I am looking for the second column. Okay. So, 0.1848, 0.2074, minus 0.0744 and 300. So, calculate this and give me what is P2. I rub it here and write it here. So, P2 quick, P2 how much are we getting? Anybody? is it minus 1.6383? Can anybody confirm this answer? Is it okay? Let us quickly get P3. So, P3 I should replace the second column here by the third column of my mode shape 0.2790. I am looking for now P3. So, P3 value will now change. So, I am looking for P3. So, my summation will start from 1 to 4. I am looking for all the 4 frequencies, the mode shapes, we are not truncating anything. So, the summation of I will run from 1 to 4, but k will be at 3. So, I should read this as 1 3 2 3 3 3 and 4 3. Look at this modal matrix, 1 3 is here, 2 3 is here, 3 3 is here, 4 3 is here. I am looking for the third column of this. So, I am replacing it here. Can I have P3? Yeah, is it minus 0.9831? Minus or plus? That is the bad thing, no? It is a bad news, because you are asking me to do all the problems. You can come without pen, pencil, I think you can relax. Sorry? What happened to P2?
Also plus.
Positive. The number is 1.6383. So 0.9831, and what is P4? I will replace this in the fourth column, give me the value of P4. And P4. All values are becoming positive, is it? Is it 0.1569? One five?
7.2.
Okay, that's fine. Is it positive?
Positive.
I will take away this. Now looking at the modal participation factors P1, P2, P3, P4, I can write the following physical inferences from this. In this problem, P1 is much higher than P2, higher than P3, let us say, or more than P4. What does it mean is the first mode is dominating the participation. So, this participation or this domination of participation can be seen in 3 phases. 1, it can be seen in mass, 2, it can be seen in pKs, 3, you can also see this in x, that is a final response. Okay. So, this will give an index that which mode is participating to the maximum in your phases of mass, modal mass contribution, on your participation factors, or on your final peak responses. I will show you that. Now, let us try to compute what is the modal mass contribution and how much mode should I consider in my analysis for this problem. So, the modal mass Mk the modal mass contribution in kth mode can be computed by a simple equation as same as the participation factor, which will be Mk is given by summation of I is equal to 1 to n. I am not truncating anything, I am just trying out to find the modal participation in all the modes and see whether first mode or first and 2 will sum up to 90, then I will truncate. Okay. This is given as Wi phi ik the whole square divided by g of, talking about the mass now, I am using weight inside, summation of 1 to n Wi phi ik square. The square is only for the phi ik. This equation is similar to what we have here, except that the numerator is squared and I am talking about strictly the modal mass dividing by g. Okay. Now, let us see if I substitute this if I want W, I am having mass here. So, I should say, let us say 9.81 into Mi, this gets squared because there is a square term here. Of course, all this is already available to me, okay, except that Mi phi ik square, this is already available, I will show you where it is available to me, and here again 9.81 and again here 9.81 of this value phi ik square. So, this value and this value are already available to me in my pk calculations. Okay. Now, this square and these two actually gets cancelled. So, I can easily find my m1 as sum of mi phi ik the whole square divided by sum of mi phi ik square, which I already have in my third and fourth column of a earlier table. So, use that, find the ratio and get me m1, m2, m3, m4. Is this clear? So, I can find m1, m2, m3 and m4 as Is it 20.322? M2 if you have completed those earlier 4 tables, you can easily work out M2, M3 and M4 in minutes. If you have skipped those things, then it is difficult. What is M2? 2.6841. What is M3? 0.9664. And what is M4? 0.0246. Is that okay? Let us check whether M1 by M is what percentage. I want to see what is the modal mass contribution. So, M1 is around 20.32 divided by 8 plus 8 plus 4 plus 4, that is my total M. In terms of percentage, this comes to about 87%, okay. You can check that. What does it mean is that my first mode alone or the modal mass of the first mode alone contributes to about 90% close to my analysis. This is indicated even in P case also, because P1 is predominantly high compared to P2, P3 and P4. So, that is a cross indication between these two, okay. So, this can be checked like this. Of course, all these 4, that sum of Mi I1 to n should become the total M, okay. You can check that. Okay, it should become 24 if you do not have any calculational error. So, this problem demonstrates, this example actually demonstrates how to compute the modal participation factor and the modal mass that can contribute to my analysis. We will take up one more example, then we will talk about the modal combination rules in finding out the responses. I will remove this. So, we will do one more example quickly. I want to see how can I combine the modes. First of all, one should know why should I combine the modes. I will explain that. How to combine the modes we will see. I am just taking an example of a 4 degree freedom system model of all m's and k's where m is 215 tons and k 19311.5 per meter. Now, there is a small catch here which I want to explain. How to estimate k before we solve this problem. This problem will take about another 15 minutes, we can solve this problem. Now, I have in plan, I have a system which has got, let us say, I am deliberately taking a rectangular system or a structure. Usually in offshore systems you will see they are all circular, but I am taking deliberately rectangular just to explain how I can compute the k value. Let us say this is plan, it is having some dimension, let us say about 600 mm by 400 mm, spacing let us say 4 meters, 6 meters and column 1, let us say this is my A, this is my B, this is my 1, this is my 2. I can nomenclate this column as A2, B2, A1 and B1. I can read like this. This is my plan. If you draw a subsequent elevation of this, it will look like this. Let us say I assume that these members are founded in soil at a fixed support. There can be n number of floors, we are not bothered about that. This is my elevation. I can also draw this as a line diagram like this, maybe 3 floors, 4 floors, whatever may be. Now the question is how to compute K. K is actually the bending stiffness of this member. Okay. So look at one frame, this is one frame, I call this as A frame, this is A frame, this is B frame. Okay. This is my predominantal loading direction, maybe x axis, but this way unidirectional wave load, it is a predominant load direction for me. So I have got 2 frames which are parallel to my load direction. Okay. I have got 2 frames, A frame and B frame. Okay. So N1 is the number of frames parallel to loading, which is in my case 2. Okay. I pick up any one typical frame, either be an A frame or a B frame, which I am drawing it here. So line diagram. Okay. When I try to impose a lateral load to this frame will sway and these members will all invoke bending stiffness, is it not? They all get bent. Okay. I can always find the stiffness of this and this. I can derive a stiffness matrix, which you did in the first module from the fundamental principle of structural mechanics. Now there all will be a combination of K. Okay. And bending stiffness nothing but 12 EI by H cube, okay, of N1 of N2. So N1 is the number of parallel frames I have. So in my problem this is 2. N2 the number of columns I have on the same frame, which is again 2. So N2 is the number of columns on the same frame which I am considering. So E is not a problem because this is experimentally or analytically determined for any given material. Okay, E can be found out, Young's modulus. Okay. H is the unsupported length between the floors without any imparting any boundary condition. It is not that both ends are fixed, you say 0.65 L, one end fixed, one end free, 2 L, nothing like that, simply center to center of 0 moment connections of H, nothing but the floor to floor height in simple terms. Okay. Or between the bracings in jacket structures. Now the question of I, we all know that I is BDQ by 12 or DBQ by 12, okay, or BD. Now which is to be used here is the important, because I specifically picked up a rectangular section. Now look at the frame is bending this way, you must always look at an axis where the bending axis looks like a line. Okay. Now this is the bending plane, in the top view it looks like an axis, it is a line, so it is bending about this line, is it not? The frame is bending about this line which is vertical, it is a plane, in the top view it looks as a line. So B D, so it becomes 400 of 600 Q by 2. Okay. So you must look at which plane you are looking at, which is the axis of bending, accordingly you must use B and D. Okay. So I had a problem where I picked up and worked out M and K, which I have given here. Okay. You can look at the units here, EI by h cube Newton per meter square, meter 4, meter cube. This becomes Newton per meter. I can convert this into kilonewton per meter, which I have here. To work out the mass, I must find out the weight of all the material at this floor, considering half of the length of the column here, half of the length of the column here. It means at every floor the height of the column will be equal to 1 story height, whereas in the top it will be only half. So I can easily find out m1, m2, m3, m4. I got m, in this case they are all equal because I have a top side weight on a jacket structure which is also compensating to this. So I have m1, m2, m1, m2, m3, m4 are all m, which is 215 tons. Okay. So I have a problem which is now designated, which is an input data so far. Whatever we are discussing is an input data which is of course given to you now. So after doing K and M matrix, I have got omegas and phi's, which I have calculated. 0.36 K by M, (1.05), 1.16 and 1.91. Let us say my phi 1 is 0.36, 0.67, 0.89 and 1. So can you quickly find out PKs, which is sum of make a table and quickly find out this. I will give the result slightly in a different form, which will be easy for you to compare. I am giving the results, I am not working out the problem. You have got to work out this and give me the values of P1, P2, P3, P4, M1, M2, M3, M4, but I will give you the results in a slightly in a different form, which will help you to compare quickly. I am giving the results in a different form, do not look at this table, first work out your values, then compare this table. There you will check up that actually it is starting from 0 to positive, it is taken as one level of correction here. The mode shape starts from 0 to positive, so that is again a shift. Okay. Anyway, you can check up these omegas and phis later using a classical. By the time your program should be ready, you can check up that. So, these are the summary results I have for PKs and MIs. Check at least 1 or 2 rows of this and see are you getting it same or am I wrong. You have to be fast. Is the first row all right? Then let us believe all of them are all right. Let us also quickly check what is the sum of 1 and 2, let us say m1 plus m2. Or let us find out what is 90% of m, which is 0.9 of 215 of 4. There are 4 floors of 4 mass points, each is 215, this becomes 774. Okay, you can see here approximately my first mode itself is contributing to 90% of the whole system. Okay, I need not have to look into the higher modes at all if this value is okay, right. So, this will give me an indication that how at what mode should I truncate. I can truncate at 1. Let us quickly see if I consider 1 and 2 what happens in my model combination. Now, we will talk about the combination rules. I will remove this. I may need these values. Okay, I will remove this. You may give me these values. I hope you have taken this table. Have you copied this table? Okay, anyway you can create this table, right. Talk about modal combinations. I want to now combine the modes and see what will be the effect if we ignore the higher modes. There are 3 rules available here. The first rule says it is CQC rule. First let us see what we are trying to combine. It is complete quadratic combination rule, that is the CQC rule. These are all mathematical applications. What it says is we want to find the response in any level, not in mode, any level, that is first level, second level, third level, fourth level of a problem, that is response either in the top or on the bottom, whatever, wherever you want to find the response. This is nothing but the peak response. Okay, if you are interested in the maximum response, peak response I want to compute. This can be simply given by this rule as summation of I is equal to 1 to r, j is equal to 1 to r, xi rho ij xj, where rho ij is called cross modal coefficient. R of course the number of modes which you want to consider. And rho ij, which is cross modal coefficient, this is given by an expression 8 zeta square 1 plus beta of beta to the power 1.5 1 minus beta square the whole square plus 4 zeta square beta 1 plus beta the whole square. Now of course in this expression zeta is the percentage damping to that of critical, okay, 2% to 5%, that is what we are varying, and beta is the ratio of, you are talking about the cross modal coefficient between I and j, okay, that is called rho ij, then I should say beta is ratio of frequencies of j over I. If I am talking about ji, then it is I over j, okay. So I have these frequencies with me, beta can be computed, whereas omega I and omega ij respectively frequency in ith mode and the jth mode, okay. We are talking about the modal combinations, right. Each frequency will have a specific mode attached to it, first mode, second mode, first frequency, second frequency, we have these values with me. Now in this example we already know that modal mass 1 is contributing to closely 90% of the total mass, we do not have to look at the higher responses, but just for completing this to understand, remove this. How to operate this rule? Let us pick up, for example, let us consider first and second modes, okay. So then I should say omega 1 and omega 2 or 0.36 k by m and 1.05 k by m and omega beta which is omega j by omega I for rho I j is nothing but 1.05 by 0.36 which will give me the value as 2.917. Okay. Is that okay? And of course I take zeta in my problem 2% which is 0.02 in my calculation. Now to find the response at any level, this is indicating the level where you want to find the response, not the mode. First level, second level, third level, fourth level of a mass point, wherever you want to find the response. Usually one may be interested in finding out the response at the top near the deck. One can also find the response at the foundation if it is a free floating system, wherever you want to. That is what we are looking at. We are not looking at that response, we are looking at the peak response which has contributions from all possible modes. Why I am saying all possible? You may say, sir, there are only two modes here, I and j, but it is summing up, no? Okay. So I am picking up here only two modes, I can do for 4 also. Now let us expand this equation. See how do I write this? Let us say x1 will now become square root of, I retain one summation now for the time being, I is equal to 1 to r, expand the inner summation then. So I should say xi rho I1 x1, is it not? Okay, plus summation of xi rho I2 next to, is that okay? Not summation. The summation is common for all, I is common for both. Now when I expand this also, I will have 4 terms, I have got 2 terms, I have got 2 more terms, okay. Square root of x1 rho 11 x1 plus x1 rho 12 x2 plus x2 rho 21 x1 plus x2 rho 22 x2, is that okay? Right. What I am interested in finding out is the peak response, provided I know the response on every floor or every mass level independently. I am looking at the combination rule, okay. Now if I do not know x1 and x2, I will never get x1 total, right, that is fine. If I do not know any one of the responses, this combination rule will not give me the response, it will give me how to combine the response in different modes. So I must have the responses in individual modes separately, okay, right. So these are all not problems for me, provided I know them, I must evaluate these, okay. Let us first evaluate the cross coefficient 1 2 and 2 1, see what happens. Remove this. We will not be able to complete this problem because this will take time, so we can continue in the next lecture. So we will evaluate this, I do not want to hurry up, we will evaluate this in the next class, or if you find time complete it, so it becomes easy for me to just write down the values. So one more class I will have tomorrow, there I will talk about Duhamel integral which we have not discussed, and there was a question asked somewhere during the lecture of module 1 and 2 that if you do iterations, for example stored law, for example iterative scheme, why do my iteration will converge in the first mode first, why not the higher modes, okay. Why I am getting always stored law and iterative scheme, why I am always getting the omega n natural frequency the lowest mode, why not the highest mode. Mathematically this can be proved, okay. I will prove that tomorrow in the lecture, how iterated scheme will land up in lowest frequencies. I will prove that, then we will discuss about Duhamel integral, we will talk about evaluating step functions. If I got a step loading, it is an impulse function actives only for a specific time duration, very short duration, how do you do the analysis for this using special kind of integral which is called as Duhamel integrals. We will talk about that. I think there I will close tomorrow's lecture.